Hey there, lovely. If you're a driven and highly ambitious woman who has checked all the boxes, followed all the rules, only to realize you don't actually feel fulfilled or you don't feel like you're living your purpose, then you are absolutely in the right place. My name is Melissa Chavis. I'm an intuitive mindset coach, and I am absolutely obsessed with helping you discover your true purpose, that thing you were put here on this earth to do, so that you can live the most fulfilling and abundant life possible. Hey there, beautiful. Welcome back to another episode of the Authentic Awakening podcast. I am back this week after being completely knocked out by the flu for like 2 whole weeks. I'm still a little bit congested, as you can probably hear, but luckily feeling like an actual human being again after being completely down for the count. Today, I want to talk to you about something that I've seen so frequently in the women inside my coaching program. If you've ever found yourself second guessing every decision, running through endless what if scenarios, and feeling just completely paralyzed by the fear of making the wrong decision or making the wrong move, this episode is for you. I want to talk about why overthinking is keeping you stuck and how to tell the difference between fear and your actual intuition, and some steps that you can take to start actually trusting yourself to make decisions that actually feel right for you and that are truly aligned for you. Because ultimately, that's what this is all about. It's all about creating a life that feels good versus a life that just looks good on paper or is full of the, shoulds and things that you feel like you're supposed to be doing. So by the end of the episode, hopefully you will have a clear understanding of how to finally stop spinning your wheels and start making moves toward a life that actually feels aligned and fulfilling. I talk to so many women on a consistent basis who are in this place of feeling stuck and not taking action because they're overthinking and overanalyzing everything. And what they tell me is that they lack clarity or they feel uncertain about the next step that they need to take. But here's the thing. You're not overthinking because you lack clarity. You're overthinking because you don't trust yourself to make the right decision. You don't trust yourself to know what is the next right move for you. And there's this pressure that you're putting on yourself to make the perfect decision. And it's keeping you stuck. It's actually way worse than taking action, realizing it wasn't quite the right move, learning from it, and pivoting. I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, you can't steer a parked car. So the whole idea is that you need to get the wheels moving before you can actually steer it in the right direction. And that is absolutely true. You need to start taking action, start making moves, and then you just pivot and you find your way by taking the next right step or just taking another step forward and learning from it, figuring out if it was the right move or not. And if not, pivoting. That is how we move our lives forward. We're never going to know all of the steps until we actually get there. And you'll hear me say that over and over again. You're not going to know all the right moves to make until you've already made them. So essentially, I see these women, they're just not trusting themselves. Like, you're not trusting yourself to make a decision and start taking action, even if it's not perfect. And one of the reasons is because you're listening to your fear.
You're listening to the fear inside of you and you're calling it intuition. But it's not intuition, it's fear. Fear is that loud, anxious voice inside of you that it's filled with what ifs. It's filled with worst case scenarios. It's filled with what are all the possible outcomes that could happen if I make this next step? That is your fear. That is not your intuition guiding you. It's your fear that keeps raising all those red flags and telling you that you need more information before you could take a step forward. Because intuition is not raising the red flags. Intuition feels subtle, calm, clear. It's just this inner knowing that you get that doesn't need logic or a million different bullet points to back it up. It doesn't give you anxiety or make you question whether this step will lead to failure. It just is. Intuition feels certain. And so learning to decipher between the two, to know whether it's your fear that really is coming through and guiding you versus your intuition is incredibly, incredibly important if you want to be able to trust yourself to make the next right move. And the reason that all of this overthinking that you're doing and overanalyzing and constantly running through scenarios isn't giving you the certainty that you're after is because intuition, this true inner knowing, doesn't come from thinking. It comes from feeling. It's a feeling that you get, that gut feeling that, like, I don't know, but I just know that this is right for me. But the thing is, we're told so often that we need to really think through it, that we need to analyze it, that we need to weigh the pros and cons. We're told throughout our lives that we need to really think critically about the situation. And so it's what we do. And it's how we get stuck in that overanalyzing, overthinking, running through every possible scenario and wondering about all the what ifs and all the potential outcomes and whether or not we're going to fail if we make this move or that move. We learn to do that naturally as we grow into adulthood because we're told over and over again by society and the people around us that we need to think through it, that we need to use our brain to make all of our decisions in life, that we need to use our mind to make these decisions versus using our own intuition, using our gut. We are essentially taught to move away from that. So over time, we become disconnected from that inner knowing, from that intuition that is within all of us, that we do have. Like everyone has it, no matter what. But what I find so frequently in speaking with women about this topic of, creating a life that really feels good for them, they're so disconnected from that intuition. They have learned throughout their lives that they need to think about it and that they need to weigh all the pros and cons. And so they get stuck in this place of overthinking and overanalyzing everything. And they just truly don't know how to come back to themselves. They just don't remember what that feels like anymore. They don't remember how to listen to that inner guide within them. And so this is where your human design authority comes in. Your human design authority is kind of like a little cheat code that tells you how that inner knowing or that inner voice feels specifically for you, because it does feel slightly different for everyone. And we're meant to be that way. We're all different, right? But it helps you to understand how that feels for you so that you can start to tune in and listen to that inner voice that is within you so that you can start to actually feel the feeling again. You know what to look out for now. You know what that's going to feel like when it hits you. I use human design throughout my coaching program because truly it helps you better understand how you're meant to naturally move through life in a way that actually feels really aligned. And so, one of the biggest pieces that I love to talk about is your human design authority. There are 7 authorities in human design. They are emotional, splenic, sacral, ego, G center, mental, and lunar. And you can find your human design authority on your chart. If you don't have your chart, you can go to myhumandesign.com and you can download a free chart there, and it will tell you right on there your authority and it'll say what it is. And then I have a video on authorities. So I will link that here in the description as well, because I have a video all about the human design authorities. But essentially, understanding what your intuition actually feels like for you is one of the first key steps in starting to listen to that intuition, starting to really tune in and pay attention to what actually feels right for you in your life. This is one of the reasons that I use this modality so frequently inside my coaching program, because if you want to live a life that feels more aligned and more authentic and more fulfilling for you, you need to understand how to make decisions and take actions in your life based on what really feels right. And you need to develop this level of trust in yourself so that you can trust yourself to make the right decision instead of always feeling like you need to overanalyze and overthink about every single little decision, because that's not going to get you anywhere. But you can start tuning in and developing this trust in yourself by essentially practicing listening to your own inner guide and that intuition that is within you. And over time, you will build that trust. You will start to trust yourself more and more to make decisions based on that feeling versus, having to analyze every single move that you're making. So instead of trying to think your way to the best option or constantly searching out more information, you can practice tuning inward and asking yourself, what feels right for me? And, you can start small here, build trust with sort of low stakes decisions so that you can strengthen your ability to trust your own intuition. So I was actually talking to a woman who told me that she didn't even know what she liked to eat anymore. She didn't even know what foods would make her body feel best because she had spent so many years trying to figure out what foods she was supposed to eat or what the best foods are to eat. And she had gotten all the way to this point where she truly did not even know what food she really enjoyed eating, which food she actually wanted to eat. So we started there, right? We started with just tuning in to her intuition and listening to, well, her body in multiple ways here, right? Listening to what her body was telling her, and then also the feedback that she was getting from her body when she was eating different foods. And it truly is just a trial and error process. She's gonna try some things that maybe she actually doesn't enjoy eating and don't make her feel good physically. But then she has that information, right? And she can pivot and she can steer in the right direction now. And that is how you get to the place where you are eventually living this life that feels good for you, that feels right, that feels aligned, that feels fulfilling. It's truly through a process of trial and error and learning to listen to yourself and trust yourself to make the right decisions for you. And unfortunately, that has been programmed out of us. We've been deprogrammed to listen to ourselves and trust that we can make the right decisions for us. We've been told throughout our lives that the right answers are somewhere outside of us and that we need to use our mind, think logically about every single situation and analyze it and weigh the pros and cons. And truly, we've been taught that we need to make decisions in life just based on our brains and logic and the things that we think we are supposed to be doing. But ultimately, that is not going to get you to a life that really feels good for you. That's not going to be your true, authentic path. The only way you can live a life that is authentic to you and truly aligned for you is to listen to yourself and trust yourself to make the right decisions about your life and trust yourself to take action, knowing that maybe it's not quite the perfect next right move for you, but that you will learn from it and that you'll figure it out and that you will be able to pivot and go in a slightly different direction until you find that perfect alignment for you. It truly is a process that involves learning to listen to yourself and learning to trust yourself over time. And ultimately learning that there really is no such thing as a wrong decision. Every single move you make, every single action that you take is going to teach you something. It's going to give you feedback. It's going to give you a lesson. And it is ultimately going to get you closer to where you're meant to be. The only real mistake is staying stuck in this place of overthinking and overanalyzing everything and not making any moves forward. So, the life that you want, the life that you're searching for, it isn't going to come from some checklist and, you know, crossing things off day to day, right? That's not how you're going to get there. It is going to come from learning to trust yourself and take action accordingly. That's why inside my one-on-one private mentorship, the whole program is completely customized to you because your journey is going to look different than anyone else's. Every decision that you need to make in your life is unique to you. Now, of course, we focus on how to pinpoint where you want to go because for many, many women, that's where we have to start because you're not even sure exactly where it is that you want to go. And then we learn how to align your beliefs with that destination that you want to get to. And then it's a process of learning and figuring out how to then take aligned action to get you there. And that is the part where you're learning to rely on your own intuition, your own inner guide. You're learning how to listen and trust yourself to get there. Because ultimately, the only way you're going to get there is if you actually start taking action, if you start making the moves. Because if you're sitting here stuck in constantly analyzing every little thing and always weighing all the pros and cons, you're going to stay in the same place and you're going to feel stuck and you're not going to move forward. So it's all about learning how to trust yourself to take action and move forward. I want to ask you to imagine what your life could look like if you fully trusted yourself to make the right moves and you started taking aligned action. If you're ready to stop doubting and start creating a life that actually feels good, my one-on-one private mentorship program could be just the thing to get you there. So click the link that I put in the description here to set up a call where I can answer any questions that you might have, and we can decide together if this program is the right fit for you. I would love the opportunity to chat with you about it. So hopefully you're feeling a little bit more confident about learning to trust yourself and what that takes. And as always, I would love to hear from you about your thoughts on this episode or any other episode, or any suggestions that you might have for future episodes. And until next time, I hope you have an amazing week.
That's it for another episode of the Authentic Awakening podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you found it helpful, I'd love to hear from you. You can do that by liking and subscribing to my YouTube channel or rating and reviewing the podcast wherever you're listening.